Good morning. Welcome to the Weather Channel. It is Wednesday, actually it's Thursday, the 14th of December, 1995. I'm Rick Griffin along with Cheryl Lemke this hour, and Cheryl will be here with your forecast in just a couple minutes. First stop, though, let's check on that satellite in motion as we usually do at this time of the morning. And what we see is plenty of cloud cover in the east. And there's widespread snow this morning from Philadelphia up towards New York City into the Hudson and Mohawk valleys of upstate New York. In addition to that, we have some freezing rain and just plain rain to tell you about. At any rate, the bottom line is some of you will have a tough rush hour this morning in some of the bigger cities in the east. It's not going to be real heavy snow, but it certainly will be enough, and enough freezing rain in some instances to make the highways quite slippery and quite hazardous. We'll detail the Northeast and Great Lakes weather scenario in more detail in just a moment. Partly cloudy skies in the south. Same deal, western plains and the Rocky Mountain region. We do see a weak disturbance coming through the southern part of Nevada, northern Arizona, and southern Utah this morning. And a new storm is approaching the west coast, a strong one, I might add, but I should also say that it is not as strong as the one that hit you folks a couple of days ago with wind gusts of over 100 miles an hour and 10 to 20 inches of rain in some cases. This next system coming in will not be quite as turbulent as the one about 48 hours ago. At any rate, back to the northeast, you can see the snow stretching through New York City up to Syracuse, snowing in Buffalo, snowing in Philadelphia and Allentown this morning, also snowing at Scranton, Pennsylvania. Right here is the snow. It's mostly a light snow with some moderate snow mixed in over the southern tier of New York near Elmira and Binghamton. Freezing rain is also falling from the Susquehanna Valley up into north central Pennsylvania. But this again is snow, Philadelphia. Also in Allentown, some snow near Atlantic City, light snow around Trenton, Teterboro, New York City, and Islip, stretching up to Poughkeepsie. Snow should start pretty soon in Albany, and it is snowing now in Syracuse, Binghamton, Elmira, Cortland, New York. Finger Lakes region is steady snow. Rochester, about a mile visibility and light snow now. Some freezing rain again, north central Pennsylvania. And then you get into the milder air, and it's just plain rain at the moment around Erie, where it's in the low 30s. I think 33 is the latest reading with rainfall. But notice how much colder it is just up the road a bit in Rochester, where it's snowing, 21. 33, some rain near Detroit, although freezing rain in the northern suburbs. But check on the mild air. It's right around the corner with 51 this morning in Cincinnati and mid to upper 40s around Charleston, West Virginia. Compare that with 9 right now in the Capital District of New York with snow moving in from the west. Down south, well, look at Nashville, 60 right now, 46 in Atlanta, 40s in Charleston, but back into the 50s, 60s, and 70s as we head into Florida and moving westward into Texas. You know, there were several record high temperatures in Texas yesterday. 80s in some spots, Midland, very close to Dallas too, and today will be another mild day over the Lone Star State. In fact, with the southerly breezes, most of the South, as Cheryl will show you in just a moment, will have mild, or at the very least above average temperature conditions for this time of the year. Some scattered showers in the south, a few of which this morning are in Florida, right along the Atlantic Ocean side of the state from Fort Lauderdale up towards the Cape and near Jacksonville. Then as we track north, we get back into the wintry mix. The mix happens to be rain near Grand Rapids and Lansing, but freezing rain at Saginaw. Then snow from Houghton Lake to Traverse City up towards Pellston, snowing lightly across most of Michigan's Upper Peninsula, extreme northern Wisconsin, and the Arrowhead of Minnesota. But the mild air has moved into Chicago overnight, with the temperatures pressed up into the mid-40s. That means you'll have less problems on the highways today than you had yesterday with your snow and freezing rain. 52 in Indianapolis, a balmy December morning in St. Louis, 57 degrees, and it probably feels that way at International Falls. Now, it's 20 above, but just a couple days ago it was nearly 40 below zero. So when you get that type of temperature contrast, big change like that means it's going to feel a lot warmer than it actually is. 33 in Denver, mid-30s in Salt Lake, 58 in Phoenix, 50s in Vegas too, but 40s up around Portland, Salem, Eugene, and Seattle. And there's more rain coming into the Pacific Northwest right now. Let's find out how much rain is going to fall and when is that snow going to reach, say, Boston, Providence, and Hartford? Well, Cheryl will let you know right now on the Good Morning Forecast.
Thanks a lot, Rick. And here's our weather map for later on today. And the weather's remaining pretty active once again throughout the west. We have another low-pressure system that's curling up around Vancouver Island. It's going to be dragging a frontal boundary with it. This whole storm system will be slamming into the Pacific Northwest a little bit later on this afternoon. Now, this one, too, will be spreading some gusty winds, maybe some winds today around 40 or 50 miles per hour. Certainly, though, not as bad as what it was just a few days ago. At any rate, though, with this moist onshore flow, we'll be seeing more rains, too, developing around Seattle and Portland, down towards around Crescent City and Arcata, California, and the higher elevations picking up some snow showers. And actually, there will be some lingering snows today throughout much of the Rockies, even down towards around the rim country of Arizona. But probably the worst conditions will be found across the east. Out ahead of this big low-pressure system, there's been a big, broad southwesterly flow pumping in tons of Pacific moisture. Now, unfortunately, though, we have some very cold Arctic air that's locked in place at the surface. And what's happening is as this mild, moist Pacific air flows up and over that very cold air, it's producing a large-scale area of overrunning precipitation. And because temperatures have been cold enough, most of that is of the frozen variety. We've had some ice and snow already this morning, and more of that will be continuing throughout the afternoon. In fact, the ice and snow invades parts of the Hudson Valley and works its way back over towards New England come later this afternoon. Currently, we have some winter advisories out for New York City. We have the snowflakes falling right now, but throughout the course of the day, the weather's going to get pretty interesting. We'll watch this milder air surging up from the south, and what's going to be happening is that New York City, you'll be on that transition zone, starting off as snow, eventually turning over to freezing rain and sleet, and then by late in the day, as temperatures continue to warm, well, eventually that will be turning over to pure rain. So it's going to be kind of interesting across the Northeast with the snow, then eventually the freezing rain and sleet, and eventually turning over to rainfall. The same story, too, holding true for Boston, starting off as snow showers throughout the afternoon, but by later on tonight through the wee hours of tomorrow morning, we'll watch the transition taking place and eventually more rains developing across southern New England. Today, though, we've got mainly the snow and ice to deal with. And some of the snow will be locally heavy, primarily from the mid-Hudson Valley through upstate New York and around the St. Lawrence Seaway, through the White and the Green Mountains, maybe as much as 6 inches of snowfall by later on tonight. Meanwhile, lighter accumulations around Boston, Providence, and Hartford through New York City, on into Wrightstown and Millville, New Jersey, maybe around 1 inch to 2 inches of snowfall there. And temperatures today staying very chilly, teens and 20s quite common. Meanwhile, some 30s around Philly and around Atlantic City, and a little bit warmer around the nation's capital with some highs in the 40s. In the southeast, rather quiet, rather lackluster. High pressure still kind of in control of this region. So we'll see a mix of clouds and sunshine. Now, one exception, though, we have been seeing a few spotty showers flaring up around Florida, an old frontal boundary draped across the state there, but for the most part, nothing of any great consequence expected for today. And look at the temperatures, very mild, with a strong southwesterly flow, much warmer conditions invading the south, and actually temperatures this morning are averaging about 25 degrees warmer than what it was just a couple days ago. Out towards the west, we'll have some sunshine for the western high plains states. Still that wintry mix across the northern lakes today, maybe some heavier snows around the UP, and temperatures quite cold.
Bosnia, only on Action News. Action News, Delaware Valley's leading news program, with Dave Frankel, Rick Williams, and Monica Malpass.
Snow and falling temperatures are taking their toll on the highways this morning, even on vehicles working to clear the highways.
And good morning. It is 5:30 on this Thursday, December 14th, and the big story, of course, this morning is our latest winter storm.
It has left at least an inch of snow and more in some areas, and it is the type of snow that is making for very slick road conditions. Even at this early hour, with relatively few vehicles on the roads, drivers are having a hard time avoiding each other. A geo-tracker collided with a tractor-trailer on I-95 in Northern Liberties earlier this morning. That is cleared up now, but the big rigs are particularly vulnerable to jackknifing in this kind of weather. Department of Transportation crews in all 3 states have been out treating the roads with salt and sand. As always, the major arteries, I-95, the Schuylkill Expressway, the Blue Route, are receiving most of the attention. Secondary roads will have to wait for later in the day, and you should be very careful as you head out. Of course, the key for anybody traveling is be prepared for the worst and take it slowly.
Now for the very latest on what's happening outside right now, let's go live to Dave Frankel and the exclusive word from AccuWeather. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Rick. Well, as AccuWeather said, this thing started in the overnight hours, and now the changeover is starting to take place in a few areas, from snow over to rain. It's a miserable morning out here. It's going to be a very nasty morning commute and rush hour. Anytime you see the salt trucks tipping over on the highways, you know we have very treacherous conditions. Here's what's happening right now. Officially, freezing rain being reported around the region, except well north of the city. The changeover starting to take place. 25 degrees, our present temperature. Today's exclusive AccuWeather forecast, we will have snow tapering off to the north where it hasn't already. Changing over to freezing rain will eventually reach a high temperature of 38 degrees this afternoon, and that means that it'll change over to rain later on, probably by about noontime, and then the rain should end this afternoon. Again, we reach that high temperature of 38 degrees. We will struggle to get over the freezing mark. We're well below it now, and it probably won't happen again until about noontime, maybe 11 o'clock. Tonight, we're expecting just cloudy skies with some fog possible, and the overnight low 36 degrees. So the good news is we stay above freezing overnight. Things should not ice back up if we hang there. And by the way, tomorrow, we're looking at 50 degrees. We'll have the 5-day coming up in just a couple of minutes. Right now, we want to go out live to Cecily Tynan, who is out looking over Route 202 in King of Prussia. Cecily, what's it look like up there?
Well, Dave, about a half an hour here on Warner Road. Snow was falling from the sky, but now it's all turned over to sleet, and the roads are definitely slippery. Take a look behind me. This is Route 202. Now, the snowplows have already been here, the salt trucks. Right now, we're looking at slush. Of course, this will be a problem. The slush can freeze over. Right now, traffic is moving pretty steadily, but on the secondary roads, when we were driving around, the plows haven't gotten out there yet, and we are looking at some pretty deep snow, a couple of inches out here near King of Prussia, so you do want to allow a lot of extra time. Even if you have a 4-wheel drive, I saw a lot of people fishtailing around. Again, Route 202 right now, traffic is okay, but still a little slippery, but on the secondary roads, some very deep snowfall, and now the sleet is falling from the sky, so it looks like it's going to be a very dangerous morning commute. I'm Cecily Tynan reporting live in the action cam from King of Prussia. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Cecily. The city of Wilmington, Delaware has not been spared by the bad weather either this morning. Let's go live now to Delaware correspondent Lauren Wilson. She joins us from Route 202. Good morning, Lauren.
Good morning, Monica. There's mostly freezing rain here in Delaware, too. As you know, that forecast is calling for the changeover, and we are seeing that changeover happen right now. We've got a couple of inches of snow on the ground, but a lot of freezing rain has hit the ground, and it all adds up to a dangerous and messy commute. Now, snowplows hit the streets around midnight, and that has made the commute a little bit easier. All major roads, I-95, Route 202 where we are, and Route 13 have been sanded and salted, but you'll still see some slick spots on the road, and freezing rain on the windshield is a big problem. It diminishes visibility. The side streets have not been plowed. So the bottom line is, if you're leaving this morning, leave early, take your time, and use a lot of caution, because it's really a messy situation out here on the roads. I'm Lauren Wilson reporting live on the Action Cam in Wilmington.
All right, thank you, Lauren. And now we want to go to Frank Graff from PennDOT live on the telephone for an update on conditions on roadways and highways. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning.
Can you tell us just an overview? I know apparently we got more snow than you were expecting.
Well, you know, our objective was to get a lot of salt down, because when this freezing rain came, we wanted to make sure we could break that bond on the highway. And we did get a little more snow than we thought we would. The operation was hampered this morning on the Interstate 95 by several tractor-trailers jackknifing, and that put a damper on what we tried to do. But we're not plowing. We're going to plow some ramps. We're salting. We want the salt where it's at when the freezing rain comes. And my men are reporting that this stuff on the interstates will turn to slush and then to water.
We're looking live on the action cam right now along the Schuylkill Expressway, and if you will, tell us a little bit about ramps, bridges, overpasses, areas that are traditionally tricky. Are you able to clear some of those as well?
Yeah, you know, of course, bridges are always colder. I mean, they get the wind under them, they got the steel in them, so they're difficult, and we have to get to those bridges. And when you get a tractor trailer jackknife and it's in your way, we can't even get on them. So that happens with ramps, and that happens on bridges. They're the slipperiest of all. So when those accidents occur, they're in our way, and that makes it real difficult for us.
All right, we're looking at the eastbound Schuylkill Expressway at Spring Garden this morning. Now, I understand you had a salt truck overturned. We had pictures of that a little bit earlier. Are you having some trouble with your own drivers?
No, that was a Delaware River Port Authority truck that was making a turn on one of the Bridge Street ramp up there, and he overturned. I just got off the phone with Delaware River Port Authority. The operator's in fine shape. The truck did flip over, though.
All right, just give us a couple of statistics, and now we're going to change our picture as you continue talking. We're going to look at Cherry Hill at Route 38 this morning live on the action cam. Give us some numbers of the salt and the kinds of crews that you've got out, how many men you have working this morning.
I have 30 salt trucks out there, and it's difficult to tell how much salt's going down, but there's plenty going down this morning.
All right, Frank Graff, live with PennDOT. We'll be checking in with you throughout the morning, and we appreciate your help. I know you've got a busy morning, and it was a long night for your crews as well. Thank you.
Okay, and we will, of course, have much more on this morning's weather and traffic conditions coming up throughout the 90 minutes of news we'll be bringing through you this morning, Monica. Now let's go into other news.
Morning again, Monica. Well, the snow or freezing rain or mix continues to fall here on City Line Avenue. Obviously, the further south you are, the more likely you are to see rain at this time or some freezing. The further north, it's going to be snow for a little while longer, and then, of course, it will change over to freezing rain up there as well. Let's go live on the action cam this morning and show you what it looks like. Oh, first we're going to do the radar. Do the radar first. We'll show you action radar, and there's the system. It's right over top of us now. We'll back up about 6 hours. You'll see it lift through. It started just after midnight, and here it goes, lifting to the north and east, and you can see the back edge of it now in about halfway through Pennsylvania and down into Maryland and Delaware. So we don't have too much more of this, about another 6 or 7 hours of precipitation. And then you do see some scattered stuff off to the west in the form of showers. Just about snow for everybody, light snow right now. It is changing over to rain, and that blue line you see in between the snow and the rain is going to creep up through Delaware and parts of the south first, then through the city of Philadelphia, and eventually up to the north. So that change will continue. Now let's go live on the action cam. We're in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. We are live on Route 38 there, and you can see the road is wet and slushy, and that's a pretty good indication of what the roads seem to be like. City Avenue is the same way out here. Wet, slushy. It has been salted, and it will probably be tricky through the rush hour this morning. Things will improve later on as the temperature climbs. That is the good news. Let's check the current conditions for you. Right now at the airport in Philadelphia, 25 degrees, relative humidity 96%. The barometer's on the way down. It's at 30.42 inches right now. We have a northeast wind at 8 miles an hour, and that makes it cold as well as snowy and freezing rainy. Wind chill is 14 degrees. Now, the exclusive AccuWeather 5-day forecast: snow changing into ice and eventually changing over to rain. We will take a while to get there, but we will reach a high of 38 degrees this afternoon. Then tonight, look for cloudy skies, some fog, maybe some leftover drizzle in spots, 36 degrees. Tomorrow, a cloudy and much milder day, 50 degrees the high temperature, and it does not look as rainy as we had first thought. Looks like that system is going to stay mostly to the south, but some showers are possible. On Saturday, start with clouds, then windy clearing is the call, 46 degrees on Sunday. Brisk and chilly, with 42 degrees for a high temperature and partly sunny skies. More clouds coming in, maybe some rain or snow again on Monday night. 46 degrees the high on Monday. That's the latest. We'll be back from time to time to keep you updated. Rick and Monica.
All right.
Thank you, David. 5:42. How was your drive-in?
It was pretty good. I
Not
took the
bad.
Schuylkill. Volume was low, but of course that's going to change as the morning gets later, but it was pretty good. Yours?
Right. I found the exits are a little tricky because the snow builds up there and they haven't necessarily plowed those, so
Right.
you have to be careful not to fishtail.
Okay.
We'll be right back with a whole lot.
And we're up there where the Turnpike and the Schuylkill Expressway come together. This is Route 202 as well. We're in Warner Road, checking it all out for you, and it is slow going and tricky going this morning. Let's run down some changes. In New Jersey, there is a 45-mile-an-hour speed restriction right now on the New Jersey Turnpike. Delaware Memorial Bridge, the speed limit is reduced to 35 miles an hour. Same on the Commodore Barry, by the way. Speed limit is down to 25 miles an hour across the Walt Whitman Bridge. Good news now for mass transit riders. Believe it or not, SEPTA is reporting no delays on its rails or its buses. Same for Patco. Amtrak tells us they are running on schedule, and the same at the airport this morning, although All of that is subject to change, and of course we can expect the usual slew of fender benders in this kind of weather. It's still going to be tricky. The icy conditions will continue right through the morning rush hour. Rick and Monica.
All right, David, thank you again. A 7-year-old Bucks County girl.
Up to a wintry scene. Let's go back outside to Dave Frankel and check area temperatures.
All right.
Wintry indeed. It is cold out here. We're below freezing all across the region, and that means trouble because the precipitation that's falling is either falling in the form of snow or some sort of frozen precipitation, sleet, freezing rain, and so on. Let's show you some temperatures around the area right now. We are live on the Schuylkill Expressway, and you can see that it is sort of slushy and a little slick, and it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. We do have salt trucks out all over the Delaware Valley, and they're trying to keep ahead of this thing, and so far doing a pretty good job. The roads slushy, at least the major roads, secondary roads, and your neighborhood streets are going to be snow covered, and then they're going to get a glaze of ice on top of that. One of the pieces of advice we heard earlier was maybe leave a little early. That's one way to go about it. The other way is if you can delay whatever you have to do and put it off till about noontime. By then we should be out of the woods on the icing conditions, and rain should return to the Delaware Valley. Can we show those numbers now as far as the temperatures are concerned? Are we going to check those? No, we're not going to do that now. We're going to do that later. Okay. Anyhow, it is below freezing all across the region. We heard from Lauren Wilson earlier that it is freezing rain already changed over there in Wilmington. Here on City Line Avenue, we still have a mixture. Still some flakes in here, but we're feeling some freezing rain as well. And further to the north, it is still all snow. Let's get the kids dressed this morning. They're going to need the long johns and the parkas and the hats and the scarves and the mittens and the snow boots today. It's going to be messy. Not a big accumulation of snow. We've got about an inch. Not even heavy ice, but what ice we get may put a glaze on things, and that's what we're concerned about. So we'll keep a close eye on it. Monica?
All right, thank you. Live on the action cam now for you in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. This is Route 38. So far, traffic very light at this time. A lot of folks heeding our warnings and either leaving a little bit later or taking it very, very slowly, and the volume has not built up yet. This particular roadway looks just like it's slushy, and as you see cars coming into view, you can see that there are ridges of snow. The tricky part is that a lot of areas look wet underneath the snow when in fact there may still be some black ice left over from the last storm. So just take it easy. It may not be rain at all or just wet from where it's melted. It may be ice. Now, you're looking at pictures in the northwestern suburbs. Cars were making their way throughout the night, and salt trucks also trying to clear snow from the highway. This one overturned on I-95. It was a Delaware Port Authority salt truck, and the load shifted as it was making a turn. That fellow was not hurt. Meantime, the folks are trying to clear sidewalks and steps as well. It is a very tricky morning as everybody tries to get to work and to school. Philadelphia schools are open. No significant delays at the airport. SEPTA doing okay. Amtrak, Patco. So far, so good. We do have some slowdowns on the bridges and on the New Jersey Turnpike, but at this point, folks are trying to make their way with our third major winter storm of the season, and it is not even winter officially yet. We're going to have a lot more for you throughout the morning. Stay with us.